meeting to
Yeah.
order.
I mean,
It's 3 o'clock. Are we
it's
good?
not like private, but
Thank
it's
you.
separate
Hey, nice
thing.
haircut.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have a group that always wants it. I'll call you.
I would love to call this regular meeting of the Moab Tourism Advisory Board to order. It's 3 o'clock on April 8th, 2025. Members present, let's just call it to order. And then are there any citizens to be heard in the room or online?
We don't have anyone.
Thank you, Ben. Any board member ex parte communications or disclosures regarding the agenda today? I want to do attendance right away. Call those in.
Sure.
Remind me, Ben, do you have to call for attendance? I am spacing this off. Do we do
I
this?
think you do, because you have to be able to tell if you
Make
made
sure
a
we have
motion
one.
who voted for it.
Okay, in the room present, we have Lori McFarland,
Wendell Williams, Vice Chair.
Beacon Metzner Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission Director.
Howard Trenholm, board member.
Ben Federgill, Director, MOT.
Ashton Black Chamber.
Jason Taylor, Moab City Liaison.
Alex Borshevsky, board member.
Holly Rutherford, Moab Office of Tourism.
Ben Alter, Moab Office of Tourism.
Brian Martinez, County Commissioner.
and online we have
Rebecca.
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 Monso. Go ahead.
Rebecca Monso, board member.
Yay, so we have 6. Sharon did let me know she had an obligation that she wasn't able to move around, so she will not be attending, but we have 6, so we should be good. Awesome. If we want to move forward, please, with the approval of the meeting minutes. Thank you so much, Ben Alter. He has the minutes for the meeting January 14th, February 11th, and March 11th, 2025. If we can approve them separately. Does anybody have a motion to approve the January 14th, 2025?
Yeah.
All right, so Ashley, seconded by Wendell. No corrections there. Approval for minutes for the meeting February 11th, 2025.
Just want to finish that motion for that minutes in January, do them separately.
What do you think? Tell me, guide me on this
Usually
one. I'm a little
motion
frustrated.
second, take a vote.
Okay, so it's motion seconded, sorry. All those who approve the minutes for the meeting January 14th, 2025, say aye. Thank you.
I'll abstain, I wasn't present.
Okay. And Rebecca, are you okay with minutes? Are you voting
Yeah,
aye?
sorry.
Okay. Okay, so 5, 1 abstain. Thank you. Moving through the approval of the minutes for February 11th, 2025. Does anybody have a motion?
Make a motion we approve the February 11th. minutes.
Wendell makes a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Thank you, Ashley. Voting to approve the minutes for February 11th, 2025. All those say aye.
Aye.
So we've got Alex, Ashley, Lori, Wendell, and Rebecca. Are you on board?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. That's 5. And at 1 abstention with Howard. Okay. And approval of minutes for the meeting March 11th, 2025. A motion.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Howard makes a motion. Any second? Thank you, Ashley. All those who vote to approve the minutes for March 11th, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 6 with 1 absent. Sharon absent. Okay. Thank you. Moving along.
Can I suggest with Gabe here?
Oh, hi, Gabe.
Guest
Thank you.
appearance.
Thank you.
If we can maybe move that up for one from the budget speech.
Absolutely. I would love
So that you don't have to
to,
listen to everything else. Appreciate that.
I would love to move that item. Gabe Wotek has graciously offered to come and help us with some of our
And
discussion.
we have printouts as well.
Thank you.
The printouts
With our
are pages 19 through 25.
discussion and possible action items.
Oh.
Are you okay after he presents, take it over, because this is on the heels of this, or is that something we're gonna move to another meeting? Tell me what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I guess I just want to hear what's going on, and then
Okay.
we can kind of find out more what's going on.
Alex was gonna lead this.
Actually, it's just like that. So there has been discussion and possible action about the Moab Office of Tourism budget review, including international spend in TRT and TRCCA. Gabe has graciously forwarded several documents to us.
Sorry, what agenda item did we skip to?
I apologize. We went from item 2, we're moving that up to item 1.
Which is before the summer travel campaign.
I believe
Correct.
that starts on packet page 19.
Thank you. Got it.
Alex, at this point, I need some guidance on this one because we had requested several bits of information, and I can just pass it over to Gabe and he can explain based on the emails that have been asking several questions. Or I think it would be better if you might want to address some of those questions so that Gabe can help walk us through where we're trying to go here.
Yeah, and I hope I can just, or am able to identify, what questions I haven't answered through some of the preparation of these documents, and just hone in on what information you all need to know, so I can sort of focus my analysis moving forward.
And if members could just tell me what page they're on the packet, I'll make sure it's shared as well.
Page 19, or page, I guess I don't know, page 19 is very small.
It's the same one you're on.
Okay, you're there.
Yep.
Okay.
Has this budget been approved?
So one of part of this email that I was privy to, talking about the latest financial information for the MTAB board, we put on our items for future discussion for possible workshops are digging into this budget. But before we put that as a whole workshop, we would love to get an overview about, I know it's 35 pages. I didn't print out the change in the Utah state law, but if you would just give a summary, kind of what you were able to tell us a little bit in the email about what's happening and what's happening with the budget, and that might get us started.
Yeah, so specifically to House Bill 456, I just created an impact analysis just to get a sense for, for this year in particular, how we can expect based on what we projected to bring in TRT, what the changes in the statute, what impact that's going to have in sort of the allocation split between the different allowable uses. And so it's, in a nutshell, on July 1st of this year, the split that is currently set at 37 and 63% from promotion to mitigation, that's going to shift to 44% and 56%. And so, and then also the rate is subject to change from 4.25% to 4.5%. Of course, that'll take an official commission action to increase the rate from 4.25 to 4.5. So I'm not necessarily taking that for granted. The commission certainly should discuss that and use their authority to do so if they wish. So there's a little bit of an increase in the overall projection, which had been $5,084,874 for mitigation, and $2,986,356 for promotion, and that's, those numbers are going to increase respectively from up to 3.37 million for promotion and down to 4.93 for mitigation. And so essentially, I think that, there's going to be more promotion dollars available this year, and that's going to have an impact on, potentially increased fund balance by the end of this year. And depending on how if the projections themselves ring true, it's certainly early in the year, hard to say how things are going to shake out as far as revenues go. But those are the main, I don't want to discount the fact that there's some grant programs that are initiated in the new statutes, as well as some offsets that are related to increase in TRCCA collections that are to be expected. And so I don't mean for this document to, it's not my intention for this document to paint a picture where there's going to be less of this mitigation use that serves as general fund offset for the county in a pretty important way for the county's budget, because very well, it might take some time, but that very well may be made up due to other changes in the statute. And so it's not meant to paint a doom and gloom picture about this being a bad thing for the county. It's not really what I'm trying to say. It's just more of a realistic kind of hard look at, what the impact is going to be. So I guess, yeah, that sums it up. Increased rate from 4.25 to 4.5, and based on the commission's actions that can take effect on the 1st of July, as well as an updated split. Any questions regarding that?
I just want to make one thing, and maybe help kind of guide this conversation right here. Is important to this board is we also need to understand that there's going to be two pools of money, right? So when I look at this right here, we got 3.5 million in our balance. Is that correct?
Quoted here.
Current fiscal year 23 fund, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, so are we looking at a balance still of 3.5 million, right? Plus we have the first half of this year right here, 2024, and that's going to have certain restrictions attached to it. And then all money collected after that, right? So all money that's collected from July 1st on forward will have the restrictions that are placed with HB 456. So the accounting of this is going to be difficult, right? And figuring out which money and how we can spend things. So I don't know if it would be a good idea to basically make, to name each of these accounts or to split these accounts so that we make sure that we're spending the money according to the statute of when it was collected, so that we don't end up in trouble right there.
Does it make sense to make it?
Hold on,
Oh, sorry. Howard.
Yeah, no, do you mind if I just finish? I just
Oh,
have
sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, no, just one more thing on that real quick when I look through this. So you mentioned the reimbursement of the $950 inside of here, right? From the state auditors. Has that been placed back in from general fund into the balance, or where did that get placed to?
Yeah, that's encompassed in this balance that's quoted here, and to that 3.5.
Okay, and what is the max on that balance right there that we can carry?
I don't know. I would have to get back to you on that.
Okay, but that's going to be another question that we want to make sure that we answer as well. Is I think that there's like a certain percentage of,
It's like 10%.
is it 10% of the total collected, right, that we're allowed to keep in our balance? So we'll want to make sure as well, not only are we going to have these different restricted funds, right, but the challenge is going to be to make sure that we're spending those funds so that we don't lose money that we've already accumulated.
And who will be the person directing that? Is that Gabe that will help us with that information going forward? Is that going to be Mr. Voles sorting through that? Help us to know so we don't.
Yeah, at this point, I haven't really integrated Stephen Bowles in sort of the TRT web, and he's plenty busy, fulfilling other important roles with operations. So I think it probably will come up to me running points on this item for sure.
That's great.
It seems like Is it okay?
I was gonna call on Howard. Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just from a mitigation point of view, I mean, I see a shortfall with this switch. Do we have funds in place to cover our mitigation allotments for this year?
That's a commissioner.
Yeah.
Do you have that
And then,
knowledge?
I mean, I think that
And one
we'll figure
question,
that out in the mid-year amendments.
Okay.
and then a question about the fund balances that carried over from 24 to 25. How much money was left in the accounts at the end of 2024 that wasn't spent as it was supposed to be? Would be another question I have.
So I'm gonna pass that to Gabe because I think he just alluded to, isn't there 3.5 million? Is that, am I reading that right?
Yeah, that's the cumulative fund
Is
balance.
that including this year's takes too?
That's just end 24, so that's beginning 25.
So that's how much the balance was at the end in TRT funds?
Correct, on the promotion side.
3.5 million?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Go ahead, Ashley. Thank you.
You know, no, we're sorry. You know, what would be super helpful is to look at this from a quarterly perspective instead of the whole year and the whole division partway through the year, that the percentages are going to change. So if we could ask Dave to calculate what do we have available in Q2, whatever that means by the end of June, right? What do we have available in Q3 and Q4, like the known amounts, and then the projected, that would allow you to say, okay, right now you have this balance in the account, and then you have whatever's come in since the next, it comes 2 months later or something, correct? So we're gonna get January and February in April, which is now, at the end of April, something like that. Like, if we make a flow chart, like just a cash flow chart of this account, but that's not really showing the quarters, is it?
There's one in here I thought was helpful, but.
It's a pretty clear report.
Yeah.
That's quarterly.
But that's, yeah, budget, actuals. Okay, but I think there could be, based on the restrictions, parameters, need to spend so that we don't lose it kind of thing, if you started adding, if you thought about it from a quarterly perspective, or maybe it's monthly, that would just help us. If you say, okay, this is how much money there is, this much, this is how much there is, this much, and those are hard, cold numbers, the existing balance and the currently collected, and then these are projected, so that we would just have that picture in front of us, because I feel like that part of it has been a little harder than it needs to be.
So actual spend versus budget prorated for the year through the.
Well, I'm talking about available spend. So available spend going forward, forgetting the past for a minute, because there's available spend, some of which is going to be a problem if we don't spend it in a certain amount of time, right?
Well, we know what that is. That's anything that goes over, what is that? I think it's a 10%. What would we have, $8 million roughly last year in collection?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So, 10% of that, anything over that, we're at risk of losing.
So that's the maximum we can hold
Well,
back
that's the
from.
maximum.
Well, right, that's
Yes.
what I'm saying is, if we do the calculation, like, what is that amount then? 10% of 8 million, or is it 10% of what's in the account right now? We already spent some of the, like.
But that account basically is.
Should be no carryover, 10% is the maximum our carryover.
No, I understand the concept. I'm
But
just
that
saying,
account-
where are we on this exactly? Like, how much money do we need to spend, how fast? That's all I'm asking.
And
And is
what I'm
that-
saying is that account is going to change, right? Because we're basically going to have two accounts. We're going to have the account prior, right?
Got it.
With the 3.5 million that had certain restrictions attached to it. And then from July forward, we're going to have a separate account, which will have new restrictions attached to it.
Got it.
And what those restrictions are, we're waiting to hear from our county attorney and also the state auditor to find out what, because there is even some ambiguity inside of the language right now of where that money can and cannot be spent.
Right.
So,
Well, once you've sorted out, if it could be brought to this board as, you need to spend this much money by June 1st, this much money by September 1st, whatever, however, monthly, whatever is most convenient for y'all, but we have no mechanism of calculating this. And so if we're responsible for the spending, we should have a little, if you could make a map for us of when this money is going to need to be spent, that would be super helpful.
Jason?
So Kate, I guess the question I have on July 1st, when this goes into effect, does it go into effect with July's collection of TRT or May's collection when it comes in of TRT?
Tricky.
Yeah.
Right.
We just have to be consistent. I think that it can be interpreted either way as long as we're consistent moving forward.
So it could either go into effect in September, or September funds come in, or May funds.
Well, I would interpret it as it has to be.
Ben?
funds
And there's a 2-month lag, sorry, there's a 2-month lag there, so.
Yeah.
We'll have to normalize somehow, right?
I tend to think that the safe way is whatever hits our account in July is subject to the new restrictions.
Agreed.
That's just the easiest way.
I think it would be a mistake to interpret it any other way.
Just as far as the funds, but carryover, doesn't that mean that money is ready to spend, basically, if it's a carryover from 2024?
That's what I was
So
talking
whatever
about.
that amount was, that's free, that's ready to be spent, basically.
Well, I think we would need to get a ruling from legal on that, because, or
Well, I
from
mean, the
Dave.
commission would have to approve, I mean, if it meant increasing the budget, then the commission would just have to, you know.
Do it. Okay, but in the concept of there's money sitting that's superfluous, kind of, like, I mean, maybe that's the wrong word.
Yeah, it's a honey pot to draw from.
Okay,
So it's unspent from 2024.
go ahead,
It's
Ashley.
unspent from several years, really.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you-
So, no, yeah, I mean, it feels like we should be seeing exactly what we have to spend by when, and the sooner we can sort of figure that out, not projections, cash. And then say, okay, and after this date, it will be based on projections. But if we know what the cash is right now, and then what are the rules about that cash? If we have to spend all 90% of it or whatever, and can't hold 10% after a certain date, let's get on with it. But if we can hold it and we want to wait until we have more of a strategy or whatever we're doing, switching advisors or marketing consultants, then we just need to know when do we have to spend the money? That's all I'm asking. And I get it that there's some ambiguities there, but if you went ahead and did that math and gave it to us and said, this is, and then if we need to run it by the commission to get approval to do that, this is how this was calculated, this is the plan. I'd like to give this to the tribal council to start spending.
Go ahead, Wendell.
I was, so Ashley's point, just to clarify, how much we have to spend this year to be in compliance, and are we on track to do so?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a little bit of a follow-up and research on the restricted, or the fund balance maximum that can be held. I have to look back at the statute, because I'm actually not 100% sure that the same rules apply to restricted revenue funds as opposed to a general fund, and the same kinds of limits and how they apply. It very well may be what's been quoted in this meeting, but I don't want to speak with authority on that right now.
Hey, we're looking to you to be our authority here, Gabe. So thanks for being here. Howard,
One last question, again, going back to the 2 carryover accounts from TRCCA and TRT, that money that has been held back from last year, do we need to be conscious of that? Is that mitigation money or is that marketing money?
it's all promotion.
Promotion money?
Great.
Just so we know, because if there's some mitigation money in there, that might cover your shortfall this year from what funds that have been allocated. But I just want to make sure we're not misspending inappropriate money.
it looked like when we were looking at the Love contract, like our spend was 1.1 million with Love. And I think there were some eyebrows raised in our last meeting about, wait, what? What about the rest of the money? I thought it was a really dang good quote.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to find out is where in each honeypot are these agenda items, priority items going. And I feel like maybe we need to get a consensus on this, but there seems to be a feeling in our town like, let's spend money on promotion. And that's kind of what part of the conversation I'd like to have today is kind of deciding where the priorities are on that, and with some of these discussion items of where do we want to go and what do we want to recommend. Go
Should
ahead.
we make a little committee, just a couple people to work with Gabe and sort of get to the point that we have a clear picture of how much money, because it's not so much comparing to budget or like just what is the revenue flow, and then separately, what has been committed already. And that leaves you what you still remained or open to buy kind of thing, how much money's left. And so if we just did a little work on that so that we know what that looks like, and the actual cash, again, that we know is there, and then the projection, because we're kind of mixing those up, it feels like. And so, I don't know, would that be helpful to you, Gabe, if we just kind of focused on it for a hot minute?
I think so.
Okay, and then that gives us our budget.
I have a question as well. So Gabe, was there 1.6 million budgeted for promotion for paid media this year?
That's what I saw.
Correct, yeah.
And then Love only had 1 million inside.
At 3.6.
That was our, we put that number
1.1.
in one.
I was just trying to figure out where the other 600,000 went,
And
yeah, or
I'll-
500,000
I'll
went.
remind from our previous discussions, that was a ceiling number. I mean, that was not your guarantee, $1 million. It was, you might only have 100,000 and 900 has to go, like we go back to the commission and somewhere else. But that was, build the plan on that, not, just like we don't want to tell, it's like the grant thing, when you get a grant and then you get a vendor, they know how much your grant was. So they're like, that's your price. So we want to be able to negotiate the best to get the most bang for the buck.
Do we know where the other $500,000 was allocated in the budget? I'm looking through the budget and trying to get a good idea
That's
where we're
When we
going.
did the budget planning, this goes again back to TCAB last year. What would you do if you had $1 million extra? It was, we just placed more placements. So it was, okay, ask for it. So that extra $1 million starting off was paid media placements. That was, bumped that up. And so then you had the co-op match, which was 212, not 250. So that was 425. We had 90 for international, 48 for billboards and things like that. And then like our test guides, that type of stuff. I have to go look, but
8,000.
and then there was another 212 that came on top of that would have come from the state. So 425 of that was co-op restricted, and the rest was go maybe do some creative, go do
That
extra.
425 was not included in the 1.6.
Right.
Those should be
Right.
separate.
That's how we budgeted it when we did the budget, when we
Okay, so-
presented it.
They were separate.
Yeah, I got that.
Right.
So you got the 425 over here, and you have 1.6, but then we had a media plan that only had $1 million. Where does the other 600,000 go, I think is the question.
That's where we go get initiatives and go do it. When we put that in, we put that TCAB extra paid media in without saying, hey, we know we want to do it.
So how are we doing on that? I mean,
Where's
we've
all-
got
We put the brakes
500,000.
on because we're RFPing a new agency. We're in a
I thought
lean.
we had $1 million for the agency, 600,000 then
Was
should be,
We haven't spent all, I mean, we have money to spend.
They're saying they have it in reserve to spend. So it hasn't disappeared, it just hasn't been.
oh yeah, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
remember. So
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just never- it was
But where
just
is it
never
on the
an
budget?
immediate
'Cause
plan
it's-
or
it's-
anything.
yeah.
So they've showed us $1 million and we've got $1.6 million in the budget, so we're just wondering where that other money is gonna be spent.
And what's the plan
So-
for
so
it?
when we
I'd love
came
to
out-
see the plan for all of that.
So this goes to where we thought start of the year, we'd be running with the previous agency, we'd amend and we'd go forward. Now we're changing strategy, we're supporting that. We're running lean right now, but it means that we'll have to be very aggressive once this new agency is found.
Well, I gotta remember to stay the rule of order. Is it possible for the Moab Office of Tourism to see that budget, that 500,000 extra in budget, and get to work in-house on that, on doing things in-house? We talked about that a little bit last meeting, and, oh no, that was the commission meeting. But if, instead of waiting for the agency, I'm sure we'll do good work.
We're already doing that,
That's the campaign.
we're already doing that
Okay.
right now.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the first
That's
position.
100,000.
That was 100,000 right there. But Gabe, just real quickly, so is that the responsibility inside of your guys' office or Ben's office to be noticing these 600,000 or the 600,000 that's basically not accounted for, right? It's not budgeted out. It's part of the budget, but we can't really attribute it anywhere.
For it to be spent, it would have to go through procurement and it would have to go through commission approval. And so it was an effort to build up that budget and allow for some leeway within the approved budget to allow the Office of Tourism to come before the commission and get approved.
Got it. I'm just wondering where that basically that fail safe is. Because when I look at it, we're actually on the opposite right now. We're in actual risk of losing money that we have saved, right? Rather than overspending. So I'm just wondering where that fail safe is at to make sure that we get these spends in. And, and then I'm just trying to find out whose responsibility it is to make sure that we find that, I think it should be TCAB that's going here and finding out, hey, there's, we approved our $1.6 million budget, and now we're looking through and now we only have $1 million budget. I'm just trying to find out, and now there's 600,000 floating, and we're also in risk of possibly losing part of our reserves because we're going to have too much money sitting inside there.
Okay,
Wait a minute. Howard was next, and then Ben, and then you're next, and then we're going to move on because we've got you, unless you want to be on the, okay.
I just want to make sure, this is the 2025 budget. This doesn't account for any carryover money. I'm really concerned. We're in April now. We should spend that money out as soon as we can. Because this carryover that should have been spent last year.
And I think what we're trying to do is figure out who's going to carry that ball. If we have that 3.5 million and the other 500,000, these 300,000 in there, who's going to carry that ball? And is it up to us to keep checking the budget to make sure it's being spent properly? So go ahead, Ben.
So Brian, to answer your question?
Yeah.
Well, the plan was that, first of all, when we asked for that, we didn't know we'd get that. It was based on our previous TCAP. The theory was we would then go do more placements. So if we're not in place to do that. We could come with ideas to the TCAB and the commission to be approved in the procurement process and pivot on the strategy, which right now in these times might be a really smart idea because we're saying people aren't traveling from Canada. Well, there's also the idea to go market in Canada, or we can come up with a strategy that's aggressive and go after it, and we can come up and present it and procure it through. So we would like to work with the TCAB on the strategy and then commission, because we're kind of doing it a little bit backwards right now, and we'll do what's needed.
And that dashboard that you have is pretty darn amazing as far as data goes and what we're able to get. Go ahead, Ashley. What?
Well, we're
You were on my
swimming in
little
the river. I know. Sorry. We're like swimming in this river of numbers that are in the order, the actual decision-making process or the flow of business is really unclear to me anyway.
Agreed.
So it feels like we had a committee that went back and said, okay, here are all the different steps. This money's at this step, this money's at this step, this money's at this step. I think what Ben is saying is that 600,000 is available to use. And so, but he obviously doesn't feel like he's getting, he hasn't been told to spend it yet. That's kind of what you're asking, or how, right? And so, is that right? Or?
Well, we thought we were amending a contract going forward with that, but that was a different strategy. So now we've got to pivot and figure a different way. So where we were a month ago is a different perspective. We understand it, so we'll get behind it. It's just.
Well, the strategy, yeah, and it comes back to that we don't have enough of a broader strategy, bigger. I mean, if you have a really big strategy and you find yourself with extra funding, you already know where to spend it because you know what your strategy is. And so that's another part of it. But it feels like we're really close, but we're not quite there. And so if we wanted to do a committee that said, okay, here are all the pots of money, here are their different stages, here's when they have to be spent, here's when they're at risk. And then we're clear on that. And then it's like, okay, great news. We have the opportunity to come up with a $600,000 campaign. And there's people that we can work with that can do that very fast. I don't know. I know we have to go through the RFPs and we have to get through that pieces and those kind of things. But as you said, if there's you're mentioning the in-house spend, we could come up with some ideas that would be not required to go through big RFQ, whatever. But it seems like step one is like Brian's point. When is this money at jeopardy? And where is each pot of money at this point? It seems like something we really need to know.
So I propose that we circle back And I'm going to call on you too, because I've been dying to hear from you for the last half hour. What I'd like to do is find out, we have so many big projects like that we could do subcommittees about. I made everybody a workshop just in case you didn't print them off. So I'm thinking what I'd like to do is come back to the idea of the subcommittee after we prioritize what our workshop agenda priorities are, and then we can kind of put our horse before our cart and go from there. Go ahead, Alex, and then last.
Well, I was
we're
just
gonna
gonna say,
close up to the next item.
I'd be happy to be on a subcommittee for the budget, or we can sit down and workshop it as a quorum. So either way.
Or Gabe, are you able to maybe
Yeah.
provide some of those answers and
Yeah.
then just bring it in?
Subcommittee would be hopefully
Save us from a
including that guy.
subcommittee and just provide the
We're thinking
answers.
about a
Yeah. I
workshop.
think
I'm
that's-
thinking
I
this
think
is
that's
a
a
high
better idea.
priority.
Yeah.
Because we just need direction.
Because when I added
Yeah.
it up real quick just from the commission, and it looks like we've spent 120,000 so far this year.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to put that
My
out.
concern is this: I think we should empower our Office of Tourism to have a pre-authorized spending amount that they can immediately start marketing rather than waiting for another
And
commission
the
meeting.
film commission.
That's item number one.
Just so we don't get bogged down.
Yeah, I think that maybe Brian can speak to that for us a little bit, because they had some things going on in the last commission meeting. But I would, given this discussion, what my hope is to not tie up any more of Gabe's time. And then we can decide, hopefully, if there's a workshop, and if you're amenable to kind of guide us in a workshop. We're just trying to get informed.
Absolutely. Yeah, can
Super
we
good.
start with just a subcommittee with a couple people and Gabe?
Let's talk about the workshops, and then we'll decide if the workshop or a subcommittee. At that time, we'll decide if which way we're gonna go.
Sure.
Because I'll just move that a little later down in the agenda. All right, I would like to move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Gabe.
The next item is the first item. We're going to review and approve the proposed spring and fall advertising campaigns. And we have fabulous attachments on that one. Are you leading?
Yeah,
on
I
this
can
one? Okay,
lead
go
off.
ahead.
So just when we were looking at it, so since that contract ended in December 31st for Love, we basically did not have a way to spend anything over $10,000. When we did the pre-procurement list at the county at the beginning of the year, there was quite a few things that were on there. But one thing that was not on there was any paid advertising. So what we did at the last meeting is that we amended the pre-procurement list, and we put $100,000 inside of the pre-authorized spend. And so we gave that with direction that we would do a summer and fall campaign that would need to be spent by May 31st. Allowing Ben's office the Moab Office of Tourism to go ahead and come up with some ideas, present at this meeting right here, to see if we like the direction of which way they want to go, and then immediately start getting some campaigns and some ads out on the ground.
Okay, so we were instructed by the commission, Brian, over the years, get going right away. So we started this 2 weeks ago, which was start getting this stuff built and start doing a digital campaign. So number one, huge kudos to Ally for finding content, and which is a challenge, because we needed to find copyrighted stuff, photo that we could use. She's gone out and done a lot on her own, reels, and I'll let her talk about the main part of the plan. But one of the challenges was getting a mechanism to pay this quickly. So we got a little slowed down, because by doing this digital, you have to have some payment mechanism, and so we capped our credit cards right away. So we worked for a little over a week. I worked with Gabe to get a situation where we're set up where we immediately have $70,000 available between Ally and myself, that is controlled by the clerk's office to keep cycling this through. So when we cap, we can pay it, so that we're not held up by that piece of the ad. originally, the challenge was 100,000 by the end of May 31st. And so my question was, if we can move quickly, do you want us to come back to the well and ask for more? So that's something to think about.
Yep.
So, and we immediately in-house, I would say but it was really Ally, went very hard into our data metrics and started looking for demographics and the things that are the best to market to. There was discussion that with current conditions, do a 60%, I believe, for the Intermountain West drive, and then a little farther out. So with that, it's okay if I turn over to Ally to talk about the actual content, because she was very good about wanting to have TCAB reviewing it before just shoving it out the door.
Love it. And then just one thing as well, and just a suggestion for this board here, would be that, I mean, I think that the whole point of this is that we want urgency, right? I hope that everyone kind of agrees with that, is that we want urgency. And I'd like to see it to be that we are not slowing the Moab Office of Tourism down, placing their ads, right? But that we are still able to provide insight and to try to guide future ads as they kind of come in. I think that would be a nice way to try to see this, at least this campaign right here run, to where, you know, you guys are able to go ahead and spend your money, but you guys come back to us and say, this is what we're seeing, and that this board has the ability to influence future ads.
So do you want me to go through all the slides and then we can talk about the whole thing, or kind of talk about
You can start.
slide by slide?
Tell me how much time you need for to do the campaign justice. 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, maybe like 10 minutes. I'll just
10 minutes
I'll
is
just
great.
start going through it, and then if you guys have thoughts.
Most of my
obviously, I'll
questions
do
are
this.
about allocation of budget to certain things. So you roll and then you can tell us later.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay, so when we were going into this, we knew like $100,000, and then to actually design an effective campaign, you need goals and KPIs and audience, and so that's what we thought about first. And so the campaign goals for this summer fall campaign are to inspire awareness and interest in a trip to Moab, and then we can measure that by looking at impressions and interactions with our ads. And then also this idea of inviting visitors to engage with the Moab community by essentially generating like TRT and TRCCA revenue.
And what's the baseline that you were going to use for that?
Well, I wanted to ask you guys about like specific goals and numbers and like what you would recommend for that. I know that the next agenda item mentions 6% growth, and so that.
That's fine. I was just wondering. No. It's either which way. It doesn't matter what the goal is. I just wanted to see what do you guys have a goal? Like we're going to use 2023 as our baseline,
Right.
or that's all I wanted to know.
Well, and I think we talked about this now. I mean, the thing is, we can pretty well measure the reach and the click rate and everything going out. It's hard to know if it enriched a room booking or something. So we'll measure the metrics out and then try and measure it against what happens in the.
Yeah, either which way. I mean,
Yeah,
if
that would-
I was
I think that's
making a
what we have to
suggestion,
do.
I would say we measured it against Love's campaign that they recently just had, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's up or down. At least we got someplace that we're starting as our baseline. That was my only recommendation.
Sure. Yeah, and then we were thinking about key messages and themes. So like vacations that will make lifelong memories with your family, breathtaking scenery, and this other message of, especially for summer, like knock something off your bucket list, do something exciting this summer, try something new. So we were looking at two audiences, and obviously when you're doing digital ads, you can go any which way. We could put $100,000 into convincing everyone in Philadelphia to come to Moab, but we didn't think that would be effective in this, like, if you want to see immediate impact in summer and fall, then we should probably talk to the audiences we've already been talking to. And so I dug a lot into our visitor data just to see like which people are coming and how long they stay. And so we have two audiences that we're planning on talking to, which is this like first one, spend a weekend. It's our region, kind of encouraging them to like, what are you doing this weekend? What are you doing in 2 weekends? Why don't you come to Moab? Like, you know, take a Monday off and come with your family and come be in Moab. And so the second audience is this like spend a week idea. a little bit older, and you can see that we're targeting more of a higher income because it is expensive to get here. And these are the other audiences that are like, they'll come to Moab multiple times. These aren't just like one-off audiences. These are people who we know about this area and could be, like, if they're shown an ad of Moab, they're really likely to think about coming in the fall, probably because they already know this area.
And this data is coming from Symphony Analysis, right?
This data is coming from Placer AI and also Adara Impact.
Can I just offer a suggestion for the summer?
Sure.
I would really target markets that do not mind the Moab heat, meaning Texas. Houston is a massive market, and I think that you can more likely to get somebody to come from Houston than you are from Seattle.
Yeah.
Because why would you come to the hot desert when the mountains are beautiful? So really focusing on these sub kind of tropical areas. Houston was always kind of on the radar, Dallas too, just because the summers there are so muggy and hot.
Yeah.
Coming to Moab, it's not so bad.
I know.
I'm just thinking it's more effective enticement to come here.
That's a really good point.
I'll answer.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I can start I actually have quite a bit of stuff right now. I don't know if now is a good time or if you want to finish your.
I would,
Yeah.
go a couple more slides and then we'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure.
No, this is great. Okay, so the placements that we can do are meta ads, Google search, and then we can also do traditional media. So meta ads, basically in meta, you can run different campaigns, and then within those campaigns, you have ads. And so we have two separate campaigns, one of driving traffic. So we want meta ads that people will click on, and then another one that we're telling Meta, just like put this ad before as many people as possible. And so the spend a weekend audience can reach like 15 to 40,000 people a day, and the spend a week audience can reach like 10,000 to 27,000 a day.
What's the spend to reach those?
Yeah, so we've been a little like, today we figured out our spending caps on our credit cards, because with Meta and Google, you can only get them to invoice you if you've been running ads for a while, which obviously ad agencies do, and so they can very easily pay for those, and we haven't in the past, and so we have to go through a credit card. And so today we were able to like get that limit undone.
So what are you budgeting for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have some ideas of a budget, but I really want to hear from you guys. And obviously,
Amelia.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the role, is to, talk to you guys about budget. And so, yeah, we were thinking, well, if you go to the next slide, oh wait, this is creative assets. Oh wait, no, I talk about our ads. Okay, so mostly focusing on these like traffic ads to drive people back to discover Moab. Those have a little bit more. And then the awareness ads are mostly just reels and things like that. And so I'm thinking that we should do more budget to our traffic ads to actually drive people to a website and take an action rather than just like seeing a reel. But what I'm thinking for creative assets is that the imagery and the text for each ad will switch out 3 times. So if you're in Denver, you're not just seeing the same Moab ad constantly for 2 months straight. With the traffic ads, we want 5 running at once for each audience. So that's a total of 10 ads plus the 4 Google search ads to link to these 4 Moab web pages. So essentially, it's a different ad to link to each different web page, and then also link to subscribe to our newsletter. And then for the awareness ads, we can do 3 running at once for each audience. And right now we're thinking we have a really nice clip of Delicate Arch and stars running over it. And then also people mountain biking on Porcupine Rim. And then we made a little reel that says discover extraordinary, discover magic, discover Moab with different scenes. But I would like to be switching those out constantly throughout the 2 months so that people are always seeing new things. And content is really easy in this area. We need rafting and off-roading videos so we can show those. But like Ben was saying, we don't have a lot of rights to the current content on our website, / we're not really sure like which photos we have rights to. And so we have more like actual photo shoots scheduled for those.
So if we want to send you content that's rafting or off-roading or whatever it is, what rules and restrictions should we follow when we look through our stuff?
You just
I
have
mean,
to
I
be
bet
sure
Jason
that
has
you
a
own
little-
the content.
That we're what?
That you own it. If you own
okay.
the content and then you can give it to us, that's great. Every email that I send out to local businesses, I'm like, please send us content, and nobody's sent us anything yet.
Okay,
Because I think a lot of people like get their photos from a photographer, but then they don't own them, the photographer owns them. So we just have to be really sure that we own them.
okay.
Do we have stuff
Do we have
from
any-
the Utah Office of Tourism that we can use as
Yeah.
well? I mean, because they have license agreements with agencies and.
Yeah, so they
photographers.
have their program, they were using Tandem Vault for a while and then they switched to a new thing. But I've been through those photos a lot and they have like a couple of usable ones, but they don't have a ton of like new Moab
Pretty
content.
dated.
Yeah, it's pretty dated.
Okay. All right. Brian, you said you have a couple things you wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah.
ask about
yeah,
some
those
of
are the
these,
photos.
and then we'll go from there.
No, yeah.
And this is good. Hopefully, everybody's already looked through this and read this, done our homework.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was super helpful to have the attachments so many days in advance. Thank you to everyone. That was huge.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's it. And then I just mentioned that in the body copy, it's like, come visit, and then we can say like, when you do, here's how to do this cool amazing thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll go, Brown's first.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks. Yeah, just a couple of things real quick, good, I went through, good job on the campaign right there. A couple of things on the media plan that I noticed as well, and this might help you out with your spending, is that, you guys have only targeted Google Ads and it looks like the Meta Suites, but there's also TripAdvisor when I looked at the media plan as well.
So,
Go ahead.
keep going. I have reached out to TripAdvisor and Expedia, and I haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay, I think there's a way to actually get online and actually
Okay.
just set up your account right there and go ahead and, that's how I do it. So you just get on there and just kind of like you do with Meta or TikTok or whatever, you sign up for the account and then you can go ahead and start placing it. But I did notice from from the Love plan that they set out that we did get good traction on both TripAdvisor and Get Your Guide. So maybe spreading out a little bit might be a great way to kind of go on that. When we look at the target audience, and then YouTube as well was one thing, that I didn't hear mentioned. So I think that, and that's part of the Google Ads suite right there. So on the Google Ads suite, I think that we could also be including YouTube videos and just tie those into our shorts and our reels, and just you could do it that way. I received a report here from Love that was that's got the March confidence, right? Consumer confidence report, and it was super interesting. I don't know if your office had a chance to look at it yet.
Yeah, we read a lot of those consumer confidence reports.
Yeah, and I just got it yesterday, so I'll try to get that to the board. But I did want to go through a couple of slides right here because it might help kind of guide your target audiences. Right here. So one thing, this is, and I took a mix of the positives and the negatives. So I tried not to just cherry pick, either which one, but there's quite a bit of really good information in here. One here, they talk a lot about the Gen Z and the millennials right here, and this is kind of stuff that we've known for quite a while. That 84% love off the beaten path destinations, right? 79% say they want to live like a local. And I mean, I think we've all known that. We're like, yes, that's us, right? They say 61% love personal wellness, right? And we're like, yes, that's Moab, right? But then there's also this really interesting slide right here that shows where they want to travel. 65% want to go to coastal beaches. 48% want to go to urban metropolises. 35% mountain ranges, 36% want rural countryside, right? 35% want lakefront, right? And only 12% are interested in desert terrain, right? So, that's definitely a perception that I think that we want to change. But I mean, when I looked at the target audiences of that, that was the weekend travelers right there. I mean, you might want to take that into, it might not be our best short-term game right there when I kind of look at that one right there.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second
yeah.
because you just said, looking at this logo, people want desert, mountains, and beach, and we have all three here. So
Yeah.
look at that. It's right
Yeah.
there. Desert
Oh,
Mountain and Beach, here we are. Keep going.
We got it, but I'm just pointing that
Keep
out right
going.
there.
I love it. That's us.
Let's see here. This one there's a slide in here that's really important. You know, like here comes one of the negatives, right? Foreign tourism is forecasted to drop by 11% right now this year, right? So, you know, when we look at that, we can all go, oh no, or we can look at that as the opportunity as we're doing a short-term campaign right now, and maybe we shouldn't be looking at putting all of our eggs into the foreign market as we look at that.
I just came from a UOP, foreign meeting on that. When I get that presentation, I'll pass that. Yeah,
Perfect. Here's another very interesting statistic on the negative right now is that we're looking at a 40% increase right now of domestic travelers considering traveling internationally, right? So we're going to also have a smaller pie of the people that we're going after domestically. When they look at that number right there, yeah, that comes right there from the TripAdvisor Spring Travel Beats, which has a pretty good eye on that kind of stuff. They have a really good market.
Jumping ship.
They're jumping ship, yeah. So, but if you look at it right here, right, it's really interesting. They actually broke it down into subcategories, and it's actually parents with school-age children. 57% of that is made up of parents with school-age children, right? So while families might be a great like long-term goal, right? Maybe right now we're not focusing on these families as strongly because they're looking at the international travel. Their interests might lie, 57% of it lie outside of this. Yeah, and there's some stuff about the economics. I won't even get into that right there. Yeah, this was interesting. This is something that they're noticing from their spring travel trips right here. That we're seeing 28% increase of vacationing with smaller parties, right? So smaller group travel rather than larger group travel. We're also seeing 23% people wanting to take longer trips. You know, that might be something to consider into that. Some of the big deterrents of travel. Sorry, I'm going through on
You
this.
keep going.
Yeah, if that's okay. I don't know if this is interesting to everybody here.
It's definitely interesting.
But, you know, so the biggest deterrents to travel right now is travel is too expensive, right? Personal financial reasons, and then airfare is too expensive. Those are some of the biggest deterrents to travel right now. And then when we look at that, they also broke that down once again into the groups. And the groups who are most deterred are going to be your millennials and your Gen Zers right there. So they're the people who are not really interested in travel right now. They think that things are too expensive. Right now, your Gen X and your boomers are going to be your biggest market right now, or the people that are definitely less scared to travel. Pessimism, this one was kind of neat in the consumer report here, is there was a big thing that came out from Future Partners, which is, do you feel that a year from now, you and your household will be better off financially or worse, right? And so surprisingly, a large majority actually said that they think that they're going to be the same or actually better next year than they were this year.
Wow.
I know that was, and that came out in March of 2025. But I'm sure that's going to change. But I'm saying right now, this is the most current data that we got coming out, right? This is from March. This is end of March right here, right? And then this one was really interesting as well, talking about the consumer confidence, right? And once again, this came from March of 2025. 36.7% of travelers feel that now is a good time to spend money on leisure travel. Okay, that's compared to August of 2023, where we were at 25%, right? And noting that it's at our highest of October of 2021, we were only at 45%. So we're right in the middle. So it actually is not as gloom and doom as we kind of have been making things out. Consumer confidence might be a little bit stronger than we've been talking about. This one right here talks about gas prices. And this is really interesting when you talk about where you might be wanting to spread your net right now. So gas prices, if you look at California, gas prices went from $4.68 to $3 a gallon, right? So I know you said it. Drive markets and road trips are one of the biggest running things right now. Also, this one is really interesting. This one's political right here. And so they actually went and they looked at Democrats, independents, and Republicans, right? And they checked the confidence on that. So the Democrats, they tanked. I mean, they went from, let's see here, almost 100% confidence, down to 41% confidence right now. However, the Republicans have went from 40% confidence prior to this administration up to 83.9%, right?
So is that telling us that they're not going to travel?
That
or
they are
So
more.
Democrats won't come, but Republicans will.
It's just something to,
Texas.
it might, there goes to his thing right there. That might be something to consider in there. I thought that was a really interesting thing. Getting in, you look at inflation has remained static. We'll see how that ends up turning out right there. And I think that was kind of it for those. And then the consumer sentiment total indexed right there, we're sitting at 57.9%, right? Which is at the lowest that we've seen since November of 2022, right? So it's bad, but I remember 2022 and it was a pretty darn good year.
Correct.
So, I mean, we're definitely not falling off of the cliff just yet.
I'm trying to remember where I was reading recently that said that people have planned their trips, but if you can get tantalizing eye candy of where our location is and what we're doing, and it's
Key
a
thing,
bucket
what
list
we are
item, what we are doing, they will change their plan from
Hold
what
on.
they had planned. Do you have that?
You're right ahead of me right now.
Oh, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on one second.
Sorry.
So this right here, I think, is probably one of the most important slides that I read through that right here, which is 70% of travelers have changed their original destination plans after seeing something that inspired them, such as a must-go destination.
Like Archie.
Right there. There it is, right there. Howard said it, if you had to read my mind. This was also very interesting, is setting up themes, right, rather than a destination. So rather than setting up a destination, telling that story and attaching feelings, right? So 27% of travelers start with a theme, right? Road trip, rather than going with, hey, I want to go to Arches. Expected leisure travel right here. This was really crazy. But in which months do you currently have leisure trips planned for 2025? And the majority of people have them in June and July by a large percentage on this. We're looking at 32% compared to our next highest, which would be May, which is 27, April 25%. So the majority of travel is looking at June and July right now.
For me.
Yeah.
That's so hopeful.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope in here. This is super interesting right here. When compared to the entire sample of responses, right? Utah is the 28th in the 28th position for most desired domestic destinations in the next 12 months. That's huge, right? Utah is still on the top of people's minds, right? When you say 28, we're not talking about states. Right? Like, you think of Florida. Florida's probably got 7 destinations, right? California's probably got 8 destinations. I mean, we're talking about.
Look to 28th out of how much?
I don't know how
All
many.
the destinations.
Out of all the destinations of the United States.
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah, hundreds of, it's a lot. We're on the top of people's minds. And then what are they looking for? This is always funny, Alex. The number one, they want food. Right? But number 2 is they want tours. Right? And number 3 is they want scenery, right? So I don't know how that can play into your target audience, but I think that it's great. This one was interesting. Once again, it's another piece of hope. 87% of survey respondents consider themselves excited about leisure travel in the next 12 months. That's a lot higher than I would have kind of guessed when I look at the media. Means of transportation. This was really neat. This switched a little bit. Plane travel has dropped quite a bit right now. The cost on plane tickets has gone up quite a bit to try to recover for this. And you're seeing a big increase of people wanting car and road trips. Everybody's considered about budget. This one, and I'm sure we can all kind of agree, is scary. But 48% of Canadians travelers have said that they are less likely to visit the U.S. Right? So that might not be the place where we want to start stuffing putting our eggs in that basket right now. But this right here is another hopeful, right? 95% of domestic travelers are planning as much travel this spring, if not more, compared to last spring. right? So we're still at 95% of our domestic travelers are still planning to get out there and go visit these places. Night stays, which it's been seemed like it's been one of the big goals for you guys' department, is actually on the rise right now. Our 3 to 4 night stays are up 38%. That's huge. So that's a nice little market to be playing for our itineraries right there. Just looking at that. And like I said, I'll get you guys all of this information in an email. I just got it yesterday, and I read through it this morning kind of just before this. I'm like, wow, this seems like it fits in really nice with this target audience right here. This also is another interesting one. 61% of people plan to travel 6 hours from home for a trip this year.
And if we can get that, is anybody at this table interested in receiving that
Yes,
information?
definitely.
I would love it.
And then this one right
Email us a
here.
Copy of the slides.
Yes, yeah.
That's based off our last little campaign.
Yeah, this information, yeah.
Right.
So anyways, and then this one right here, so purpose of planned travel coming up is we have 27% of people looking for a road trip. And that's quite a bit higher than anything else. You have people like shopping is 9%, right? Beach trips are only 11%. Sightseeing is 8%. Cultural sites are 18%. So people want to go on road trips right now.
I mean, it's like an age-old tradition.
It is, and and so when I look at that, right, I would say, if I was hearing my marketing, I would say, right, like, yes, we want to have that delicate arch, right? We want to have that picture of the arch in there because people, that's their bucket list idea. But if you have a car in the foreground and a convertible of people enjoying it, right, that's selling the whole idea of the road trip, right? That's selling that theme. There's also some really good information right here on what people are looking for, that know your customer kind of stuff. Make memories, relax and rejuvenate, escape from the daily routine. We're still up and above the 30%. Let loose and enjoy yourself, right? If it was me, I'd be taking these things, I'd be throwing them into Gemini, and I'd be coming up with, give me a catchy little slogan that deals with this. And I'd be firing something like that off.
Just 2 minutes.
2 more minutes? All right, I'm done. Well, here, this one's kind of fun too. Activities booked ahead of time. This is something I'm not seeing, with us, but it could be different. They're actually saying that we should be seeing a larger capture rate. So we should be seeing people actually booking in advance more than we have seen in the past.
Right.
I don't know if that's true amongst everybody. You could argue that yes or no. I haven't seen it, but that's what they're saying overall. And then this one right here, also super important when you guys maybe talk about how you want to place your budget. Right here is 59% of people right now decide in the moment of where they want to decide in the moment on where they want to fill their time with their trip, right? So even though you have more people trying to book their activities, right, and their restaurants and their concerts, right, you're still seeing that 59%, the largest percent of people are still flying by the seat of their pants. So once again, your TripAdvisor, your Get Your Guide, Instagram, Facebook ads, things like that. There's a big market out there to grab those people who just really, they're out on the road and they don't know what they're doing. So anyways, that's what I gained from that report.
I'll be really fast.
Okay.
This is really good, and please share it with us, and thank you for sharing it. I think it's really good. I'm going to use one really important word: experiences. We're selling experiences. I get it that the whole history of travel marketing is focused on destinations like that. Do you want to go to the mountains or the beach or whatever? We have the opportunity, and one of the reasons like the Mighty 5 campaign was so successful is that it focused on experiences. It showed you, I want to do that. I want to ride my bike there. I want to walk through the water. I want to be in that boat. I want to be in that Jeep. So I think that you're really trying to, you're almost there. That the goals don't talk about it quite right, because I get it that the goals are to fill hotel rooms and sell stuff, but I mean, get people to eat in local restaurants. But the reason they're here is to have an outdoor experience.
Yeah, I
saying
totally agree with you.
Okay.
I think guided trips, especially in the summer, is the way to go. I don't want people out there in.
But no,
110-degree
I'm not
heat
talking
doing
about
lots.
guided trips. I'm not talking about guided trips. I'm talking about the range of experiences that you can have in Moab, from sightseeing to tandem base jumping, okay? And I'm talking about getting people to book. This point, Brian, that you made about that they're making their decision on the fly, okay, but we want to teach them to make their decision earlier because that's why they stay longer days. So in the Celebrate Moab campaign that the chamber is working on right now, we're going to be producing itineraries for each of the personas we've identified that says, if you're traveling with a family of kids, here's a whole 5 days worth of stuff you can do. And we're doing that with like a group of dudes, like whatever you tell us about your demographic, we're then recommending experiences that you can have here. And once we work on that, I'll give all these assets that we're doing through this grant to you guys for sure. And you can do whatever you want with them. And we're also asking for video, et cetera, from chamber members, and whatever we get, I'll share with you. But I guess the whole, like, activities booking ahead of time is really what we want people to do. I mean, I get it that historically it's like sell the destination and then decide what to do, but we want people to stay longer because a big problem for us is that we have this transactional relationship with Arches. Come to Arches, check it off the list and head to Zion.
Yes, okay. I want to focus on the summer
Yeah, that's
campaign right
exactly-
That's
now.
what I'm trying to get.
And I want to entertain a motion in this campaign to, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at or budget allocation, and a lot of it was in print. I'd love to see you spend the whole $100,000 on exactly those things by the end of May, and then we can continue to go on with some of these workshops.
You mean digital, the whole thing should be spent on digital.
Well, I'll entertain a motion. I guess I can make a motion too. Does anybody want to make a motion? Go ahead.
If we can run
This is all
faster,
digital, isn't
would
it?
you like us to come back
I can also
to
do
the well and ask for even more?
I would love it. I would love it. We got $3.5 million sitting in a honeypot waiting to be, that's what I'm hearing. Does anybody else have I mean, we can vote on it.
I would throw 100,000 into digital right now because it'll produce a faster result. and
Is
we
that a
need
motion?
Yes, and move that we spend it. I mean, I think it'd be faster. You can also learn from it and make changes if you need to. Also, as we get new experiences, like the BLM's supposed to be marking 50 new miles of hiking trails, that we should be promoting those actual experiences.
Is that part of your motion?
No,
I want
my
to move on the
motion is, my motion is to spend 100,000, this 100,000, wherever it came from, on digital marketing, because it can be uploaded faster and we'll be able to get results faster and be able to pivot it faster.
Would
So-
anybody like to second that motion? Wendell. Any more discussion, questions for Ali? Moving forward, we have a bunch of stuff to keep going. This is, in my opinion, the most critical.
Well, I mean,
Move
that
through.
includes Google and YouTube. This is all an online, so that way it's quicker. Print takes a while to go out to print as well. So yeah, I think digital is the fastest, easiest, most targeted way that we can go.
And then we can learn from it, and then the next 100,000 that we spend, or hopefully more, we can then, you can say, this performed well, this didn't, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
And we have G4, we have those analytics on Discover,
Yes,
obviously.
yeah.
Thank you. Last question, go ahead.
Just as a suggestion for this blitz, I would like the board to reconsider working with Contour Airlines and the Denver outlet, because they're willing to put up 25 grand. We could double down and have $50,000 promoting that, that market in Denver. And that might stimulate air travel, but it also might stimulate short-term travel from
I think
Denver.
we're confusing. I think you're trying to tie two things
Yeah.
together. This is just a short
Yeah,
term.
this is a
Yeah.
short
Trying to get we're just trying to get something out on the ground here.
And
That's the intent of this, is
I-
let's just put something out there so that we got some cover.
I would call for a vote to spend $100,000 on digital promoting the spring summer campaign as described. All in favor? Rebecca, can you hear me?
Aye.
Aye is good. Any opposed? I'm not hearing any opposed. Okay, yay, passes,
Can I ask a functional question now?
please.
So Brian, with that being pre-approved in the last commission, do we need to go now back to the commission for more pre-approval, or we just move forward with what we're doing and then
With this
come back
100,000,
and then come
this
back and
is-
ask
no,
you? I mean, if we move faster, what do we do?
if you move faster, let us know and we'll get some more in. But we also have another agenda item on here, which is going to be the marketing agency, which is basically the means that we used to spend, or the way that we used to spend money. Right, as we approved basically so much money that would go into our marketing agency, we didn't have to worry about
Because I
it.
think we can do this pretty fast.
Well, great. I mean, if you get through this and you're ready to do more, let us
Do an
know.
emergency meeting if you want.
Okay,
to
I
take
would-
more.
I'd like to move to item 3, the discussion and approval of MTAB 2025 goals. Alex Borchevsky's been in a subcommittee with Ashley and Wendell, and
And Brian.
and Brian, apologies, come up with the goals for approval.
Yeah, we met a couple times and we went around the horn with a lot of things, and we settled on just 4 simple goals for this year. And we'd love to support the Moab tourism to get a 6% growth rate and measure that using taxable sales, TRT revenues, and the KMC Gardner research. We'd like to have that measured by the end of January of next year. We'd also like to make a timeline for milestones, have our recommendation letter for the commission with budget reviewed in August before our budget season. And give everyone a chance to get a good look at that, and give the commissioners time to get some feedback as well, and to go through the budget committee. I understand we're already in the works with the RFP for agency of record for our PR firm and for the PR firm. And we'd also like to have our agency, whoever that agency of record is, reports completed by September, so that we can consider winter campaign and following spring and summer campaigns. Number 3, guidelines for the TRT mitigation requests, and review the special event grant guidelines. So what we've had in the past is people just randomly emailing for mitigation funds, and we just like to develop a formal process to accept requests for mitigation funding with SAR and EMS and others. So we can talk more about that in a later date. And then we'd also like to see a report from the director biannually to the commission, one in February, one in August, and that would just be a comprehensive report, including past and future marketing campaigns and analysis of these. So pretty simple and quick, and if anybody's got any questions.
Super well done.
Yeah,
That's great. For mitigation money, I know the law is changing this year, and I know this fund might actually help us use what we've been using for mitigation for something else, because this grant fund will actually include, and one thing I've always asked from the sheriff over the years, and it would really help if the commissioners would request this too, is to get a report of how much action they actually see on public lands. So how much time does the sheriff spend? Because he's taking $4.3 million entire budget. It would give us leverage to get this grant money if we knew how much of that time was actually for emergencies that EMS and search and rescue are involved with outside of private Grand County.
Can we put a tracker on?
I just think there's money available from this new law,
That's part of.
which would be a grant.
Yeah,
by
HB 466 is gonna need that.
Yeah, part of it.
So-
Well, EMS is having a major financial meltdown anyway.
Well, I'm just
So-
saying, the sheriff's 4.2 million. So I just want to see if there's money there that we could claim from this other grant fund and maybe give more money to EMS if that's the case.
I would think this would be a big workshop type of discussion right here of how you want to get that process set up.
And I think it's a process that Gabe needs to be a part of,
And then-
because I went back to Gabe like a month or so ago and asked him of this, I'm like, hey, the TCAP gave you a letter of request, with this stuff, and then what happened with it? And he was like, well, the commission didn't do it because the commission has historically already allocated money to other funds that were within these guidelines, or that weren't part of this. And so it would have been this huge thing of trying to reallocate money. So I think he probably needs to be a part of it, or else it's just a futile exercise that the commission is good to go. I don't know, we've already had that before.
I'd entertain a motion.
It's back to the problem that we're swimming.
I'd entertain a motion to approve these if anyone would like to pass that motion. I think these are fabulous guidelines and we should adopt them and go forward if anybody wants to.
I think they're really important guidelines, and I move that they get supported. We still need strategic goals, which are a little higher level. These are more tactical. I mean, so I just think there's an opportunity we still have we're still sort of missing this.
Well, this is,
Could you
I mean,
repeat the
strategic goals
motion?
would be for the promotion, right?
Well, no, it would just guide all our efforts, a little bit vision, mission type stuff, a little higher level. But I think these are great for this year and
I
right
think these
now.
are fantastic SMART goals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
mean, these are all, we could measure these goals, right? They seem attainable. They seem realistic, and there's timelines attached to it. They're specific.
Yes,
Yeah, I feel
they're
like
great
anything-
tactical goals.
Yeah,
And
they
I
seem
move
like
that
they're
we
really
support
nice.
them.
Okay, would anybody like to second that? Okay, I call for a vote to adopt these as our 2025 MTAB goals. All those in favor? Rebecca, I'm seeing that's a you, yes. I
I'm here.
gotcha.
Aye.
No problem, gotcha. Okay,
Ben had something.
majority, and if you have a point of order, Ben, go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering if we'll be able to assess the success of the first goal in January, or if it's going to take a few months with tax delays. I mean, you can certainly start looking at numbers in January, but you might not have a full picture.
Do quarterly maybe?
I'd
It's
say
totally up to you all.
6%
I
a
just want
month.
to bring it.
If, you can
Because
start
that might
telling
tell
that
us we
month
need
over
to
month.
put some more marketing down.
I did the,
Dragon bot.
Oh, just,
I'm trying to beat my sales, but if I'm not
Yeah, me
meeting
too.
10% growth, I get
Losing.
fired on a regular basis. If I'm not doing 10%, I'm not getting
I
my
think he's
job.
looking at the date of January.
he's saying we might not have the data to see the
Yeah.
full year.
Well, but yeah, but we can look at month to month to month to month.
And I think-
Yeah,
Quarterly.
I think that's,
I look at my numbers every
Says the
week,
line.
you look at yours every
And
day.
you're looking at 2 months there, right? So
About
January, right? So you're looking
I
December,
say we start
November.
looking-
November's the end of our season, right? So I think that January is
doing
actually a
good, we're
great
doing
time to be looking
All
at
right.
that. And then you also won't get the final review with the Tennessee Gardner report, right, until probably around April or May anyways, because that report doesn't come out until that point anyways.
I'm going to
The
move
regular
on.
report they do.
On to item number 4, review and possible recommendations for 2025 media agency. I know that the dates for some of these are closing, opening, all these things. One of them, I think, is closing tonight. Go ahead, yeah, we've got the media agency, we've got PR
I can
and branding
present through it, yeah,
RFPs.
real quick.
Great, okay.
Yeah, so we went out to RFP. We tried to get this out as quick as possible. I don't know if you guys have all had a chance to go ahead and look through it.
I need to mark mine up. Alex, do you want to mark mine? Oh, wait, this is the PR, sorry. I'm
that's
premature.
all right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I like
And
this.
so I think one of the biggest changes that we made to it was we actually changed the dates on it. So one of the big problems that I saw last time is that we have one of the big requests that we're asking for this marketing agency is that they help us out with the co-op. Yet the dates of their contract don't line up at all with the dates of the co-op, right? So you have this co-op that falls right in the middle of it, yet you have their contract starting and ending at the end of the year. So what we did with this contract right here for this RFP is we extended the date to include the co-op all the way through 2026, which will also give you guys a little bit of time before you have to get out the next RFP for 2026. We have a proposed timeline right here. I can just kind of go over it. It was posted March 28th, right? The questions were due April 3rd, right? The proposal date, due date, right, is going to be the 9th, right? And then we're going to have selection committee on the 10th. I think that this would be, I know, and we actually got some pretty good proposals back, I think, already. So we are a place that a lot of people want to come, and they want this on their record,
Resume.
right? On their resume, with their portfolio was the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, they want to be able to say, look, I did Moab, this is what I did for them, right? So yeah, we're a hot topic sometimes. Anyways, I think this would be a great opportunity for the board as a whole to tell the selection committee, which right now, I know that the chair and the vice chair on TCAB, and then Ben as well is on, to go ahead and provide any comments that you say, this is what I would really like to see from this marketing agency for this next year.
I have something really quick. The earned media line is in our budget for 40,000, and that's the line that we're using to pay a PR agency.
Oh, are we talking PR? Are we talking?
No, sorry, we're talking about the media agency RFP, but in the presentation attached to it, there's budget allocation, and it breaks down paid media, earned media, owned media, and the earned media budget is being used to pay a PR agency.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
But
It wouldn't fall within a media agency, but I guess it could. But the PR firm RFP went out with that in mind, that the earned media budget line would pay for that agency.
That
And-
must be.
And this
in
is
the
inside the media, do you know which page is
Yeah,
that on?
yeah,
It's on the
budget
budget page,
allocation.
and we can manage that one.
It's on the marketing plan 2025 for MOT 1, 2. It's on the board, yeah,
We couldn't change it once it was out, we didn't say anything, so.
yeah. It's-
15, there it is.
Got it.
It has to be.
Yeah,
Got
that
it, the
earned media line. Yeah, I just wanted to,
No, perfect. Thank you
Oh,
for
it's supposed
pointing that
to be 40 instead of 30.
yeah, it's 40, but that's
Okay.
the budget that we're using
That's
to pay
for
the
the PR.
PR
That's-
agency.
That's the
That's-
PR.
We just want to make sure that when it's selected,
Okay.
that we
Got it.
smooth that
Okay,
out.
so
in the contract.
back to,
Sure, no, I have no questions on it. I think that, I mean, just an open discussion would be the best way so that you guys know what this board is looking for a new PR agency.
Really, I want to streamline this process, that this board gives our chair and vice chair the authority to make decisions. So you don't have to come back to us to do this, just to expedite this more than anything. I don't know if that's something that should be called for, that we just give you, empower you to make the right decision for the board.
I think you make a recommendation and then the board votes, but I don't know. Is that right?
This election committee
committee-
will.
Call a meeting,
Does
just
the
like
hiring
all
or
of
they-
us.
Let me go through the criteria, and that way you guys can say what's maybe most important to you guys and things that you might like to see inside of there. So in the selection criteria, everyone will have a chance. It's going to be a 100-point score, right? And so on that, the completeness of the proposal will be 20 points, right? Qualifications and expertise of staff will be 20 points. Demonstrated knowledge to meet the scope of work will be 20 points, and that's going to be broken down into 2 subcategories. The first one will be their knowledge of marketing strategy, media planning, and media buying experience, right? The second will be the familiarity with similar like markets, outdoor adventure, recreation, natural environments. Number 4 will be knowledge of Moab as a travel destination, right? And that's going to be 20 points. And then also the cost will come in at 20 points right there. And we did not set a structure, so we're not exactly, that's going to probably be the most fun right there, is trying to figure out how that cost is going to come in, right? Because some people might say, hey, we're going to just charge you $200,000 and we're going to provide you this. And someone else might come with a pricing structure like Love that says, hey, we're going to take 10% off the top of this. So we're going to see quite a bit that's going to come in as far as the cost goes. But if there's specifics that you guys would like to see inside of those categories, right now is the time to voice those specifics so that we can, when we're in or when the selection committee is there, they can say, oh yeah, remember Jason said that this is something he'd really like to see, and Ashley said that this is something that she would like to see out of this media, and they can raise that value up or down.
Okay, I got stuff.
Go ahead.
This is great. Thanks for everyone's hard work on it. The most important thing, I think, is that this agency needs to understand the uniqueness of Moab, and that what I don't want is a package that they've given to some other community. I think as a consultant who responds to RFPs, it's always tempting to use work you already did and apply it to the next customer. And I feel like that's what happened with this webpage that we saw, where it said there's only one Moab, obligatory buttons about lodging and food and whatnot, and then top 10 things to do in Moab. I know that agency that did that website has done that exact same webpage for other destinations. And I've worked in places where there's only 10 things to do, but in Moab, there are 10,000 things to do. And we need to be getting our money out of each one of those. We need to be promoting to these different personas really specific experiences. We need to go deeper on sightseeing. We need more than Delicate Arch. By the way, I think we should do a photo shoot of a convertible next to Wilson Arch, because that's where the road is. But my point is that we need someone who is really familiar. The number B, familiarity with similar markets, is good that they understand about outdoor information. But point number 4 about understanding that Moab has the most recreation assets of any place on the planet. That everything that's ever been invented for outdoor recreation is being used in Moab every day. But also, they need to understand that we want to invite the sightseers who are either choosing between Paris and Moab or Las Vegas and Moab. We want to, and part of that's going to be working on the recreation assets themselves, we need to develop more sightseeing destinations and promote them so that people don't just think the only sight to see in Moab is Delicate Arch. So we have the huge potential to be really, really powerful, but we need this partner, this contractor to really get this. And if they come in and say, oh yeah, we've done it for Bend, Oregon, and we've done it for Durango, Colorado, or wherever their experience is, and they're not really seeing, we are different from Durango, we are different from Bend, and they aren't really understanding that we have so much raw material that they can work with, but they've got to be ready. I think, and I'm almost done, this translates into a really important point. They need to be willing to talk to the different personas specifically. So that means if we're inviting OHVs, we need to be advertising on Onyx and any other place that we can that will speak to that community. So they need to be willing to do this work to understand, to find opportunities to spend money in these different categories. It's anyone can put a picture of Delicate Arch in the Denver airport. Any agency can do that. That's not a big deal. They need to understand that we want to invite these specific markets to our community, and we want to maintain our reputation with those markets. In addition to inviting the sightseers who will dabble in things. They might go on a Jeep tour, they might go on a whatever, so that understanding that there's a real difference between those people is mission critical for them to be success. Otherwise, we're just going to get same old, and we're also going to get same old results. And it's time for us to really differentiate ourselves. I heard it. Did you?
What's that?
I heard.
Yep.
Next.
Don't disagree, but our first-time visitors, what's our number one attraction? People that come here for the first time, it's by far the national park. And utilizing some of our previous strategies, we could say we're the base camp for adventure, because basically that's what we are, and that includes experiences, or we're the A to Z of adventures, because they have arches to zip lines. And so we could build that into our thing, but don't forget that the number one reason people come to Moab the first time is to see our national parks.
It's not true. When you go deep into
I don't want to
Highland
debate this
Mountain
right
and
now.
other
I want to go
Okay.
talk about the media agency. Ben, bring me back.
So, I would say, I would ask that a lot of weight is put on 3, A and B, strategy, the planning, and the buying, and their experience. Because, for instance, knowledge of Moab, I'm hoping that we give them their knowledge of Moab. They have to come down here and understand it. But we're in a very competitive game now. So, for instance, today we learned that India is number 11 on the Utah spend list of countries. They're number 6 in Arizona. Arizona has Indian receptives. I would want our agency to know that. I would want our agency to know that we have 3,239 hotel rooms, we have 1,000 short-term rentals. If you multiply that number by 365, you have a TRT opportunity cost of opportunities of 1,547,235. If we're driving to a TRT number, we should at least have a strategy that does enrich bookings or somehow doesn't bring everyone out to dispersed camping where we are not capturing that dollar. We've got to monetize. And then I would say that there's a level of occupancy that when that level of occupancy is happening, every restaurant needs a reservation. You're not just going to walk in. You're going to need to book ahead to get a river trip or a trip out. So I would hope that we would put a lot of weight into number 3, that they know how to compete in a very competitive market.
Okay. You had one comment, and what I would love to know is there any other input on this? Obviously, we're moving forward with the media agency. We're choosing. We had on, as this is actually kind of jumped ahead. It's more like, looks more like item 5 to me. And so I'm not exactly sure that we need to vote on this because it's already moving forward, but we feel it's imperative that we all know what's in here. Are there more questions, and given the time we have, about this?
Or just to kind of clarify that right there. So that's what I was saying at the beginning is that we've moved that deadline so that, because originally it looked like we had to get the 2025 approved I mean, everything basically fell right at once. It's like, we have no contract, we have to have 2025 approved, and we should already be getting RFP out for 2026. So what this does right here is this just says, forget all that. We're gonna make sure that 2026 contract has new dates aligned with one of the key performances that these guys are gonna have, which is the co-op. And I don't know if anybody has any ideas on that being an important part of this, right? I mean, I would think that maybe people want to consider, like, what is their experience on getting this co-op grant? Because that's $420,000. I mean, that would be something that's important as well. But I wanted to make sure that this was lined up with the co-op grant, so we will not have to get that 2026 out just yet. You guys will have to come up with the date of when you do want the mid-2026, which will start August. The new contract would start August 21st in 2026, and then would go to August of 2027. So however much time you think you need for that proposal right there, which might actually line up with right about now of 2026, right?
And if somebody wants to do a motion to request the 2026 earlier rather than later, so that we're not playing catch up. I think that's what the thought process was.
What is the best date then? Are you saying August to August? Is that?
August to August is when I looked at the co-op grant. And if you look inside of the, marketing plan right there, it kind of has that timeline right there. So at least the timeline that we used for this last co-op grant. So we had our first fly drive campaign, and it ended in June, and then our second fly drive campaign ends in August. So I think that whatever we do, we want to make sure that the marketing agency is covered for basically for the entirety of that campaign.
So what does that mean? What is the date we need to set? July, June?
I would, if it was me, I would have your new RFP for 2026 right around March 28th. I would basically just make this the new start date. You set up the RFP right now, you have the next guy ready to go, so that they're able to move in basically on August 1st, right?
But wait,
We don't have end of the year,
so can we say
December.
April 30th or I don't know.
No, for next year.
Oh,
You
all
have
right.
all the way
Sure,
now
sure. Okay.
until maybe, like I said, March, April, sometime right around
26.
2026 to
Okay.
go ahead and get your next RFP out, right? So this
Yes,
next,
I agree.
this next company
Would you
will
like
take
to
us
make a motion?
all the way
Yes.
through the next co-op.
I move we do an RFP for 26, sorry, for 27.
26 to
2026 to 7.
Yeah. That we work to get that out by March 31st of 2026.
Quick question for the.
Wait a minute, we don't want to do that now?
Now, we're already covered through then, and Brian's saying if we don't want another gap in the coverage, this is the date that we do it, and then they will dovetail going forward
By March 31st.
of 2026.
Anybody want to second that, or do you want to?
Well, just a quick question on the cooperative, because I know the media agency will not only do perhaps beyond that. Are there any requirements that we need to be aware of for the cooperative grants? I mean,
For this
my
year,
understanding is you really need to go after new markets to qualify for money. I think that was one of the state requirements to match our whatever we're going to do. And maybe mention that we are looking to emerge into new markets.
and Howard, you bring up a great point, and that's why I was asking, is that going to be a major concern that you want us to look for in this new marketing agency? Because this new marketing agency will be the marketing agency that helps us apply for the co-op grant, which is coming up, and that starts in May, May 1st.
We
I believe
started
it-
earlier last year.
Yeah, so these new guys, that's why there was such a rush when we started looking at this. If we didn't get this out and get this in, right, we were gonna run into troubles with this co-op. So that's why we raced to try to get this put out. Now we're gonna have whoever inside this proposal, they'll be responsible for helping us out. So for me, I would think that might be one of your big concerns in choosing this marketing agency as well.
Because you want them to have experience. When you say new markets, are you talking about new demographics or new locations to market in, or both?
New markets. And that was the strategy adopted by this office for many years, the state.
But how do they define a market? By
we just
location or by
Okay,
demographic?
I got a point of order here. We're on item number 5, and we have a motion on the table by Ashley, a request for the RFP for 2026-27 by March 31st of 2026. Would anybody like to second that or have an alternative? Okay. I would like to call for a vote to have the review of the RFP for 2026 27 by March 31st of 2026. All in favor? Great. Can I hear, Rebecca, is that a yay or nay or an abstain? We're gonna just call Rebecca abstain. Now I'm gonna go back to item 4.
Do we need to vote on these RFPs, or is that what you're going back to?
That's what I'm going back to,
Got it.
yeah. So we have already reviewed this one and it's actively happening. So
We don't need to vote on
The
it.
PR
It's
one,
already been launched.
PR one closed at 5 o'clock yesterday, I think, so we couldn't put it on the 8 attachment thing because it
Fine.
wasn't 24 hours. There was nothing to vote there.
Got it.
But the branding RFP is the third one, and that's the one that you basically just wanted us to say yes or no.
Yeah, so Mick is not here. First of all, Mick did an excellent job building this RFP. I think it's one of the best. I think this is highly critical because, as you look at it, the project goal is where we, especially for RFPing all these different agencies, we get a brand strategy that has a brand book and it basically guides whatever agency on how to use the brand, whatever we determine it to be, and it gives the rules for it. So hopefully everyone's read this. If not, if you need me to go through in detail, I'm happy to. But I think the key is the project goal and the fact that there's a lot of rigor in what the agency will have to study and come back with. And so we'd like to get this moving and placed because we think it's gonna, this along with our new web platform, the fact that we'll have a PR agency, this gives us a very good tool set to then drive forward as we move to the longer term plan.
My only thing on it was the first, the research and insights. I just don't want to double up to have the brand agency be expected to do all the data and research. We have all that available. Is that basically just them?
I
working
think
off
what
our-
we should do, because I've had this discussion in several things, is we have a lot of data from like our Trail to Tomorrow, some other things, which I think is important. Where these brands have worked really well is where the research was done that included the local population, because then it wasn't a brand that was delivered on them, it was a brand that could become part of. So
you're gonna
I think
use
that's-
some of that energy from both to do more stakeholder outreach locally and build support for the brand
yeah,
locally
like the
instead
local
of,
owns the brand.
yeah, that's really important. So, but you're right. Let's make sure they don't
So,
duplicate
yeah,
that
so
effort.
if we have a media agency doing data and we have this.
Yeah, if we have data, let's go. But for
Yeah,
instance,
let's
like I know one
share
of
the
these
data and
firms.
make sure they're both.
So are we at a place where we can amend that?
I don't think it's necessary.
I just think we've said.
We'll
it.
just manage it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is-
Yeah. But honestly, you guys, I've worked with dozens of these marketing firms, and if they don't know and love Moab, like, come on. So that number 4 up there, like, we should be able to find somebody who knows and loves Moab.
We'll get our.
Love really knows us, so we'll give,
So
you know,
I would like to make a motion to approve.
Is there any discussion on this or no?
Well, I'm open for discussion on whether, go ahead and make a motion.
Okay, yeah, you can make a
Can
motion.
we approve the RFP so that the Moab Office of Tourism can put it out for bid? The branding RFP.
I'd just like to make a comment on some of the resources that are included right there. Some of them do not seem like they are the most, they fall under the welcome message. So we have an outside,
What page is it?
you're on page 5 of 7,
On the PR
resources, yes.
or
On
the
the
branding? Which one?
brand, we're talking about branding, correct?
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
on the
yes.
brand-
She's
brand.
scrolling
Yes.
down to 5 there.
Yeah, so I'd like that those resources at least look through and make sure that they follow the resolution to provide a welcoming message. Because if we're asking an agency to come and create a message for us and we're not giving them that message right there.
Make an amended motion.
I don't know.
I'm trying to find it
It would-
still.
What-
It would be amended,
All the links, right?
putting it
See all
out
the
for bid,
hyperlinks.
but
Yeah, all the hyperlinks right there.
remembering the welcoming message as opposed.
I mean, this is what we're asking them. We're telling them to go study this right here and then provide us a proposal based on this right here. I don't know if these are exactly the articles that we want to be showing.
I would entertain an amended motion would like to?
I think, well, branding, messaging is secondary to a brand. And so I think it's all in, it comes out in the, again, this is an RFP and they're going to be presenting to us what their capabilities are and such. I don't know that it's necessary, but I'm happy to amend it to make sure that the RFP or the requirements are that it's a welcoming message to Moab.
Would anybody like to second that? Okay. Any further discussion? Plenty of discussion we can have. Sorry. No discussion. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you manage the product and the messaging and the product match each other, if you say, come hiking Moab, and we have well-marked hiking trails, we don't have to focus so much on being responsible because we know the trail's only going to take them. It's not just sending people out there. And that's the big opportunity, is to match the product, what we're selling, the experience we're selling, to the customer's expectation, and then you don't have to be so worried about things going wrong. And so there is a product development side of this conversation that we're kind of behind on, and that's why it really makes sense for us to have that marketing strategy workshop at some point, really before you guys choose these people, if we can.
So I will call for a vote on putting the RFP for branding out for bid with the welcoming message as a motion. All approved? All unanimous? Can you hear me, Rebecca? Okay. We're gonna call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're going to move on because we've gone through number 5 already. We're going to go to the prioritization of requested workshops. So many people have put out ideas about things that we could, should, would have workshops about. So say one for me too. So I would love to hear what, I'm sure you've all studied these and have them in prioritization of your personal favorites and order, but love to entertain 4 or 5 minutes of conversation about what you think should be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hoping that everybody can turn that in so we don't turn this into a federal proposition. It seems clear to me that we need information about our budget, and marketing and strategy proposals are 2 huge things. Anybody want to comment about, make a pitch for your ideas so that we can prioritize these, and then we can put them on a calendar. Dana has offered to help us just put them on the calendar in advance so we know when they will fall and we don't have to go, are we going to do this one next week or that one? But then we'll just rank them all and go forward about how we want to eat the elephant.
Well, marketing, if we agree on the strategy, it sort of tells you, it gives you information that's going to fall into decisions, other decisions on this list. Okay. Whereas if you start making these decisions without a strategy, you're still a little, it's not best practices. So that's my pitch for having that conversation.
Go ahead.
And this is going back to the past. This county was the member of a Global Sustainable Tourism Council. There's a lot in there, but I honestly believe that this would be a great template for a county to look at, not just for tourism, but for general planning. And I really don't want to go through all the criteria that we measure because it's kind of a golden thing, but it does set basically a strategy for you. It creates all these achievable goals that will be measured by this body. And quite honestly, it costs $2,500 a year to be a member of this body that actually gives you a blueprint of how you achieve what this global body considers sustainable. It's not just ideological, it's realist. It's like, do you do this or don't you? And it has 16 different criteria that would apply to our group, which is the Moab Office of Tourism. It would also help with the planning department moving forward, especially when they're considering land use plans. It brings everything together. And there are very few people that are part of this group. And It saves you having to pay a consultant to tell you how to achieve this. And I urge you all to look at the
That
criteria
helps you out.
and come back and report to it. And
Can you send it to us?
yeah, I already have sent it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
through it.
Well,
You
I
just have
haven't,
to search.
I haven't seen it, but there would be an
This is it right
opportunity.
here.
Okay, great. There would be an
You
opportunity.
you
to-
can do it yourself.
I'll forward it
Global
to you.
Sustainable Tourism.
Okay, great. But we could roll that into the strategy meeting. Like you could say, here's what Global Sustainable Tourism is recommending. How does that fit with our goals, our needs, how we see our opportunities? And
This,
so,
this strategy is designed for destination resorts, specifically what exactly we are. So you're welcome to take a look at this. It's too much to go through in 10 minutes, but we were members. We were the only member in the country, to be honest, as a county back when we were, and the commission decided to cancel the membership, I think like 3 years ago.
well, I
So
think if we consider
do
it while we're considering our strategy, if we like it, then it would be, and it fits with the strategy we come up with, then we could go back to the council and advise them to join. That would be a way to evaluate it.
I've been advised that if we have too much in our workshops, we're going to fail because our workshops are 1 hour and I have a tendency to put too many things obviously in an agenda. Go ahead.
Can we-
Ben.
To support what Howard's saying, I've seen strategic plans that were on the GSTC side, and I actually asked Trail to Tomorrow to do it, and they didn't put in one of their metrics. And one of their metrics was the the rate per hour of a hotel employee to the room cost. And I just thought in a gateway resort community, that was a really good metric because it went across. So maybe this isn't the right place because it's adding too much to the workshops, but maybe we should come back and just say as our office, do we go add that to our memberships and when we amend the budget, we become members?
here, can I offer another suggestion too? Maybe the workshop's too much. In the past, the board has had retreats where we actually sit down for a day and go through a lot of strategy decisions in one day rather than trying to squeeze it into a regular meeting. And that kind of sets the framework for moving forward with any strategies, but maybe we deserve to kind of consider that. In July, I would recommend it's a great month to do it because we don't have a board meeting.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, since the new media agency, part of their remit is to create a marketing strategy, that it would be good to see what they come with, see what that is, see what Ashley said. Put all of those together. So
Yeah.
rather than recreating the wheel, we have an agency we're paying money to create a marketing strategy for us. We've got yours, we've got this, we can see put all the best together and see what we can come up together. So,
I think that's great if that's like first meeting with
Yeah.
that firm. And I guess that's fine. They can facilitate the discussion. Sometimes I think it's a little scary to go into hiring if your group hasn't really decided what they want, what we want, but I see the benefit of that, and that sounds fine.
Can I ask a question? Can you clarify something?
Please.
You're asking us to pick 5?
Okay, my original thought was there are 10 items and I'm ranking them by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in mine. So then Ben Alter in his wisdom has made a spreadsheet and I'll say, okay, item 1, how many people have that as a 1? And then we'll kind
Well,
of,
can I,
unless you have a better way.
I think we just go member by
Sorry,
member, have them read their rankings 1 through 10. I'll
Oh,
put it
way
here and then
easier.
average. Them.
Okay.
the way I kind of read this is that of these 10 things, they could be done at different times of the year, and so in trying to bite off any one thing, it's like MTAB, the tax advisor, we have a date for that, which we need to address that, survey annual trillions, I imagine that would be in December or something, or in the fall, I don't know. But so as we're picking things, like, wouldn't you want to pick like the low hanging fruit, the stuff that needs to be addressed right now?
I hope.
I hope
That's
that
my
everyone will have a chance to do that. when
That's
they're
my
voting.
hope.
And that's,
But I don't think
But
we don't have 10 meetings left this year.
no, but like,
So I think you have to whittle it down
but
a
these
little
are all like
bit.
important things though. I mean,
Totally,
like
yeah.
budget, including TRT, TRC, that's critical. That's not any more important than a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay, I'm going to, in interest of time, I'm going to start with, if you're ready, I'm going to tell you my ranking.
Absolutely.
So number 1 for me,
Mhm.
number 3.
Okay, that's the TRT, TRCCA?
No, my item 1, special event grant process, ensure, that's my third priority.
Okay, got it.
And
Can
then-
you tell me the name of the item and then how you ranked it?
Okay, marketing strategy proposals,
Mhm.
2. Budget including TRT, TRCCA income and outflow, 1. And I sometimes miss numbers. 1, 2, 3. Review mitigation funding and how best practice recommendations are 6.
Isn't that kind of in the budget?
I am on number MTAB role on the tax advisory board 5. Is the data provided by MOT on Grand County website? 7. Are you with me?
Yeah, keep going.
Consideration to rejoin Global Sustainable, right now 10. Presentation from Grand County Active Trails about their budget, 8. Survey annual trail use by activity, 9. Review MTAB process and workflow, 4.
Okay.
Okay, you're next, if that makes sense. Or if you want to, or who wants to go next? Who's ready? Does everybody know what we're doing?
Rather than try and go through, like send you it.
My email just right on this piece of paper.
If you, that's why I printed them off.
Yeah.
Let's do this and let's put your name on it and move on. Are there any critical things that we have left off? I tried so hard to garner all the emails and make this list, but if we have missed anything really important, throw it on here and we can consider it.
Great.
Awesome. I love this. This is a great idea. That's why I printed them, because my hope was we could just keep that. All right. So what I would love to do after you have a minute to finish that is hear about the director's report, updates on MOT, marketing strategy, the ITB presentation, and staffing and billboards. Thank you.
Ready?
Yes, please.
Okay, so
I did
billboards,
handout for that.
I'm gonna do a little out of order. Billboards,
Yeah, good news first.
the word is, Fruta is up. Crescent Junction was supposed to be going up today. I helped coordinate both Moab and North and South with the Love Team. The first ones were done by Ryan Blackwelder, I believe that's the name of the owner. And then these Moab North and South will be done by a company out of Price called Sign Edge. And so we're coordinating getting that set up so it's blocked off and they can put those up. So those should be up right away.
Signage is going to have those up when? I'm sorry.
Should be up this week, if what they're telling me is right. I went and met with the guys who own them, and we've been coordinating everyone to try and get it set up. But in the week, I'd like to go out and check it. And if anyone's driving by the I-70 turnoff, please let me know. I'm asking for pictures.
The Fruta ones look good.
Do they? Nice.
Couple things.
I got some compliments recently coming in from people, so I know.
Okay, cool. Staffing, just kind of a heads up, Mick is at the Simple View Conference. There are 600 destinations there. Some destinations are sending teams of 40. And so for instance, Tucson has a team of 40. They have 10 just marketing and comms people. So as we talk about staffing, we're about to lose Ben. We'll need to readdress that description and what we want will make. And this may be a discussion based on some of the budget stuff we talked about, adding staff as we bring on a new website, a web administrator, or we have to understand, I would like to work with Mick and Allie and Ben before he leaves to kind of outline how we keep doing what we're doing, which is trying to match the function and ability of the Utah Office of Tourism by function, even though we know we've got to contract a lot of the different pieces. So that on the staffing is where we're at on that. On the strategy, we're pivoting quickly with the summer, spring campaign, but a couple things that we really want to keep in mind is being very tied into Utah Office of Tourism. For instance, their big message today is, there's a lot of FUD out there, fear, understanding it,
Uncertainty.
uncertainty and doubt. But still marketing to Canada. You know, there is a currency issue. There are a few things, but a lot of that noise is coming more maybe on the northeast border crossing versus a flight trip. So a lot of the media you're seeing isn't quite accurate. So maybe we don't go as hard, but we don't give up on that so that we don't unplug. Like I was saying before, obviously Arizona and Colorado have figured out the Indian audience is important. They have Indian receptives. So we want to do that. Reiterating the Red Emerald, there are 3 columns that are travel trade. So, you know, get to the travel trade people, to the receptives of the consumer. So through the TAs and the OTAs, and then PR media, where you have what we've done in the past, and I hope we'll continue in our strategy, which is the opt-in programs, where we're working with the media people in our opt-in foreign markets, and then we're going on those sales missions. So that is in the strategy part, but I know we'll be talking to the MTAB, and especially with our new agency and all these things happening. But I just wanted to throw that out there. On the ITB, we added the presentation. That presentation was a discussion template to be able to have a discussion 28 times differently every time with a different audience.
Okay. Can you bring up the presentation?
Absolutely. Do you want me to go through it?
No, I was just gonna say, I would love to see something a little bit more dynamic. This I'm happy to help wherever you need help.
Okay.
Just something that's a little bit more ITV presentation. It's just the fonts and everything. I think we could do.
Okay, and this font, this did bubble over.
Yeah, no worries. It's just I think we could do a little bit more touch. No, the ITV presentation.
ITB.
Is it in the packet?
Yes.
It's,
Which page is it?
number
So,
7.
PowerPoint.
But again, Wendell,
The item 7.
Item 7 in the director's report.
that one's meant to be able to speak to different
Yeah,
points and dodge
I get that,
different.
yeah. I just love to see something a little bit more dynamic.
And it doesn't look like
Our
that.
destination looks, Moab is so amazing that I would love to have it captured. Like, that's just personal. But
Okay,
I'm really good at PowerPoint, so.
We'll want to do that.
No, I'm happy to help.
Continuous improvement. We'll
Sorry,
want-
who's the audience for this?
These are one-on-one meetings. So these
It's the
are
wholesalers and journalists.
which wholesalers, journalists, receptives.
Scroll through it.
And so the big thing here is that we'll be
the
doing it.
journalists that we're gonna get, the PR firm that's gonna be able to help.
This is,
Well,
we
this
have
is-
to,
this
we
is-
still have
this
to
is
get them
literally-
in.
This is literally one-on-one meetings, guys. And so,
I get that.
and we'll be doing this at IPW. And so this is, the goal of this is to be able to tell a travel planner who may not have been here for 9 years, you know that Sand Flats is like the St. Andrews of golf, and the story of why a bike tire sticks to the sandstone. The funny thing about the movie one is we're now dated enough that when we talk about Thelma and Louise, we have to ask most people if they know who Brad Pitt is, so we can say that was his first movie. So, but we want to be able to talk about things outside the park where we're extending the stay and creating an attitude for extending the itinerary, not just the 2 days, see the parks and get out. So night skies, all the things that we have here. And so going through our meeting summary, we had 28 meetings with everything from B2B, B2C, everything from custom tour agents to tour plan, which are the bus tours. At the end, we had a really good meeting with the receptive who told us where we're right in talking to the travel planners, but we need to do a good job with our vendors here in Moab, getting them to understand the receptive model and the Viadors, the get your guides, the Go Wests. The bus tours are starting to leave this area. A lot of feedback is that you have 3-star hotel prices, but you don't have remodeled hotels, that we can get to areas nearby that is a cheaper model. And they aren't even trying to set up the feeding. So we're starting to lose some market share in certain places. We have been. So that is a red flag that we've got to go after.
So
With all
how
the-
did you pivot when you were faced with that? How were you able to overcome that?
Well, one thing we talked about with one of the tour planners was, have you thought about maybe bringing a tour here pre-holiday? And they're like, man, that might be great. You know, discounted rooms, quiet town, holiday parades, holiday of lights. You know, you can hike, you can get in the park. It's if you're good in a jacket, which a lot of those older Europeans are, they're very hardy. So we're
And Indians.
yeah, so we're talking to them. The way we're going back, the strategy is with, and this goes back to Go West as well, and it will be added in when we go to IPW, or sometimes we see some of the same people, but that we're communicating with them through a newsletter. And so the MailChimp, the stuff we're doing out of our office, but then we go back and a lot of these groups, we need to have follow-up meetings, for instance, B2B or B2C, that we can go do a webinar, or a lot of these guys that manage, you know, multiple travel agents, that we can go in and do a training day where we're training them about Moab and the things that aren't just our national parks. So that's the strategy there. So.
And can you give us an idea what the return on the investment of sending you and Mick there will be? How do you project that? I mean,
I think the ROI was to work with Visit USA this year and have the meeting set up. I think that next year we don't need to go to this. I think we have a data set and a meeting set that we now can be in contact with, and to return there would probably be in a couple of years. If the market changed, or there weren't as many small destinations. It was big countries. I mean, Brian, you were there. Do you echo that, or?
There was definitely a change, right? So you had a lot less, I think you had a lot less people striking out on their own. So the previous year, there was lots of little booths set up, right? So you go to a place and it was, you know, NAVTech was there, and some small little destination would be there, and a small car rental spot would be there. And I think this year you saw a lot of people moving under an umbrella, right? So they all came in. They're like, let's all sit under Brand USA, or let's all go under Visit India, right? And so you saw that. So you actually saw some of these halls actually split out. But the one thing that I do know from going to these shows a lot, though, is the part that we miss out on this is in travel, it's all about relationships, right? And so it's not just setting these relationships. It's not a one and done, right? So we don't go there, you don't meet these people, and they're like, great, I love Moab, right? Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years where they come and they meet with you, and they're like, all right, great, I just lost this vendor. I'm ready to go ahead and start spending some money with you, right? And it takes a while. And so, first year you might just be there, and they might walk by you and they go, oh, okay, great. There's that arch that I've seen before. And the next year they might go, oh, he's here again, right? He made it. And the third year might be the time where they're finally like, great, this is who I am. I'm ready to meet with you. We're ready to start doing some business. So I
Do
think
people
that.
write orders at this show?
No.
What's that?
I didn't think so.
Do they do what?
Write actual, or, I mean, do they book with you at the show, or you just build a relationship and then they book later?
But these are much bigger than that. This is, this is not a consumer show, right?
No, I get it, but I mean, do the business to business, it used to be, like, are you
Do you
doing
set
deals
contracts?
at the show?
Yes.
Yes, so
Yes. You are
closing
setting contracts.
at the show.
Correct.
I'll
Yeah,
back
you are
up a little.
setting contracts at these shows.
Most of these
You know
people,
what?
most of
It
these,
is-
just need to talk to them, make sure they lock the door.
so most of these people have some history of sending people to Moab, but it may be a long one. So for instance, what was very valuable this year was to start showing things that were other itinerary, like sand flats. A lot of people didn't understand that sand flats are.
More sightseeing destinations.
Oh,
Go.
The next thing was, we're opening a new state park. Oh, dinosaurs, kids, dinosaurs. Also, there's some American history out there. That was huge, because now what you're saying is, we not only have Dead Horse State Point, we have Utah Raptor. So if there's, we have all these different options. It's not just Arches Timed Entry or these other things. So there's an appetite for the bigger itinerary. But what we have to do is do a better job of marketing to these travel planners so that when their customers go in these travel agencies, they see that there's more to do there and they start asking for the bigger stay in our market. And then flip side to that, we connect the providers with the receptives so that when that travel agent says, hey, my client wants to go to UTV one day and on a river the next day, they know where to call and it's all been planned.
So if one of those people, are we doing follow-up with the 29
Yeah, we're
people,
doing
the
them, we're
28
absolutely-
people?
yeah.
So, because obviously as vendors, we're not reaching out, so we're trusting that the county's gonna do that for us.
Well, we need to come to the
You,
vendors.
you what?
Well, we need to come to the vendors. That's what I was saying it is. We're not sitting on our lists. What we're saying is, we don't want to put it on a publicly held place where other people can go cherry pick the work we do. We need to we need to be able to go to all the vendors and say, do you know about this receptive? We need to go to these hotels and say, do you know about these 3 receptive agencies that will help you book tours?
And we have a plan for that in Moab Office of Tourism to.
Yeah, we've got
follow up
a
on
month, we've got our database, and so like I say, the first thing is the newsletters to communicate what we have, what's new, but then
the MailChimp.
we know in those meetings what like different people were requesting different things.
You know, back in the day, you guys, and I don't still doing because I'm not really involved with this part of in our company, but you guys would go to these shows and then a week later we would get leads. Everybody you guys met with, we would get photocopy of their business card, or something back, and like a little note saying interested in rafting or, whatever. And then we would reach out to them.
We can easily present.
And that was huge for us.
Well, I think in the future you would have to, there's a lot of laws around like email privacy, especially now in 2025. So in the future, you would have to go to a show and say, can I give your email to our local businesses?
These people are asking for contacts when you're at the shows. I think that as well, on top of that, and I did listen, I sat down and listened to Ben and Nick's actual presentation with the person. A couple of recommendations that I had. The first off is that, to have basically a little set cheat sheet that we all know of, right? Like the important questions that I always like to ask is this person business to business? Is this person business to customer, right? Which receptives does this customer work with, right? So that I know basically if they're interested in rafting and they call me up and I look at the list of receptives that they work with, I can go, great, I already work with this person. Or if I don't work with that person, I can go, hey, I can call that receptive up and find that information out. The number of travelers that they send to this area would be really nice to know, right? And then just if there's any other additional information of how our businesses can work with them. Sitting in the past, having worked with Marion DeLay and a few others being at those shows, the conversation kind of went always like, they would ask, I'm really interested in rafting, let's just say, right? And she wouldn't say, oh, great, well, let me go ahead and tell you about this rafting company. What she would say is, she'd like, I'm going to follow up with all of our best rafting companies and make sure that they send you this information. And she had all of this information right here included, so I knew exactly, right? Am I able to work with this wholesaler? And if not, how can I go ahead and start working with this wholesaler? So those kind of that model right there, and having that little rubric might be helpful moving forward.
We are 15 minutes over time. I apologize that I always put too much on an agenda. We can't get through to all of it. If there are no critical board members that want to do a report, I'm happy to pass. I would rather conclude, respect your time. And once again, we're going to have to push some of these, like if people have board member reports that are critical, maybe you can submit them by email and go forward. But that way we will get all the information compiled about the workshop. Hopefully next meeting we'll see whatever the numbers work out to for how the workshops are going to work. Work in progress. I apologize. This meeting was a little clunky with the timeline. I'm trying to move forward with getting the marketing supported to get the MOT on the way. And nobody has a complaint, we're going to push the items to the next meeting and adjourn. Any feedback? Go ahead.
This is my last meeting. Just wanted to say thank you all for your service.
Okay, so this was one of the things we were asking about. This is new information.
You can adjourn the meeting.
No, if we could hear about this, this is not something I knew about. I just heard staff member reports. I'm like, I don't Tell me what's going on.
I'm just
Congrats.
guiding for the season, and then I'm going to grad school in the fall.
Well,
Where are you going to grad school, Ben?
I'm going to Cornell.
So awesome to this, what's this program?
It's a Brooks School of Public Policy.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so you are terminating your employment with the county.
Yeah, right now I'm part-time, and I'll be through the end of the month, more or less.
Well, thanks for taking all the minutes and taking all the data, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for all of
Truly
your.
say Cornell.
Cornell.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a great program.
It was meant to be a thank you to you all.
Oh,
for your
that's,
service,
no,
but I
that,
appreciate
it's
it.
right back at you. This is new information. Thank you very much. I know I'm always the last to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very
And
much.
good suggestion on that. You should get some kudos. It was Brian suggested we put together that spreadsheet real quick.
Oh,
not me.
that's great. That's
I would have thought of it eventually.
10 minutes. Great.
All right. I got school, I got to
There you go.
I know, everybody's got to run. We're supposed to be done at
I'll
5.
back up to National Ability Center, which is full-time. Yeah. I know, I'll just back up to you. He's part-time. I was part-time with Ability Center last year. National Ability Center.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
The NAC?
Yep, second season.
That's all I've been doing.
Where do they?
They're based out of Salt Lake, but they've got a Moab office. They used to be Superior.
So did you report my house? So I love Ryan S.
Yeah.
Ryan S. is like.
He spoke about you. He's a good guy.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool, good. I'm sure to see you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta go to meetings to talk about.
Thank you all.
Thanks, team.
Thank you, Howard.
Good luck.
Thank you. I'll be around for a bit longer.
Yeah, once you got Moab, then you're good.
That's what I hear.
Well,
It's good.